The inhabitants of Zis dwell in two settlements, Sentes- Sentesken and Laput. They have no temples, but they venerate the houses of their kings as if they were temples. For an example, they cite the great king of the province Duher named Datha. Twice each year they are known to the people across at sowing time, so that the crops may begin prosperously and succeed well, and again at harvest and thanksgiving, if the yield was good or if bad, that the next year may be better and the gods appeased. With solemn pomp and great gatherings of people, the idols are carried out, and the manner of this is worth hearing. On the eve of the festival, the king himself sleeps before the images in their chamber. When day breaks, the people assemble. The king takes the images, pressing them to his breast and shoulders, and shows them to the crowd. The whole people then kneel or prostrate themselves with trembling reverence, crying out loud salutations. Then the king binds the images to the breasts of two aged and honorable men with linen bands beautifully woven from cotton. The images are adorned with feather garments of many colors and carried forth with hymns, chants, the dances of maidens, and rhythmic leaping. It is forbidden for anyone at that time to remain at their home or be elsewhere. One is counted as guilty of heresy, not only if absent, but even if he performs the rite coldly or without devotion. All the men accompany the procession by day, and all the women keep watch by the images through the night, performing every sign of joy and devotion without sleep. On the following day, in the same order as they went out, images are carried back to the royal house. This is their belief concerning these idols, that from them they obtain fertility of their fields, health of their bodies, peace and victory in war. If they revere them rightfully and offer proper sacrifice, they sacrifice in the ancient manner of cakes made of flour, and they believe that their prayers for a good harvest will be heard if tears are mingled with their petitions. Divided by water, connected by culture. The chiefs are very liberal. They have many wives and are all friendly, in alliance with each other. They do not eat human flesh, except on very great occasions. And the chiefs alone were very rich in gold. Of all the things that were to be seen, the most notable were their jewels of gold and great vases, out of which they drink their wine. I saw one which a cacique named Takurumi gave to the captain Don Jorge Robidelo, which would contain 2 azumers of water. The same cacique gave another to Miguel Munoz, which was still larger and more valuable. The arms of these Indians are lances and darts, and certain estolicas, which they throw with great force, a mischievous weapon. They are intelligent and observant, and some of them are great musicians. They assemble to make feasts for their pleasure, and when they have drunk, a squadron of women is placed on one side, and another on the other. The men are placed in the same way, and they pass backwards and forwards, chanting the word Bata Batata Bifi, Batata Hiti, which means we play. Thus, with darts and wands, the game begins, which ends in the wounding of many and the death of some. They twist their hair into great wheels, and thus they wear it when they go to war. They have been a fierce and encroaching people until justice was executed upon the old chiefs. When they assembled for their feasts and games in an open space, all the Indians gathered together, and the two of all of them made noise with drums. One of them began to dance, and all the rest followed, each with his cup of wine in his hand, for they drank, danced, and sang all at the same time. Their songs consisted of a recitation of their deeds and of the deeds of their ancestors. They have no creed, and they converse with the devil, like all the rest of the Indians. Louisiana Carnival. Discover your copper roots, American influence. The finest and most powerful men I have ever yet seen have been some of the last mentioned. The Negro and the North American Indian mixed of equal blood. In quotation of one Missouri Negro Indian chief, P.U. Pecos, the eagle's ribs, he says, "This man is one of the extraordinary men of the Blackfoot tribe. His dress is really superb, almost literally covered with scalp locks. There is a portrait of him sketched from life of Tawana, the Mountain of Rocks, Texas Comanche chief. He said, a perfect personification of Jack Falstaff's in size and figure with an African face. There are also pictures of him and other Negro Indian chiefs. Negro Indian chiefs have been fairly plentiful, especially in Florida. The Wisconsin Indians have considerable Negro strain, and their great chief, Oshkosh, for whom a town was named, was undoubtedly of Negro ancestry. Brazil Carnival. North, South, and Central America. We are one. The Native American Negroes or Black Indians have been seen in Brazil, Guyana, Caracas, Popayan, Choco, Northern California, and etc. The Auroras or Cororas of Cumana were black, but with fine features and long hair, like the Jolofs and Gayas of Africa. The Esteros latitude 32 are like the Hatanats and the Mumkupas, the Tabukis, and other many Niggerton tribes, not black, but dark brown, yet complete Negroes, with large, thick lips, broad, flat noses, and very ugly, with hair crisped or curly. All these tribes live in New California. Bolivia Carnival, Negritos de Homco, paying homage to their dark ancestors. The Negritos Bolivian dance has its origins in the mutual admiration of the Aymaras and Negros, and the meeting of the cultures and history along the colony. It is performed during the Oruro Carnival and other important festivals. The dance is a Tunadunqui variation. It is originally from the subtropical areas of Bolivia. The Negritos dance attracts and amuses the tourists with contortions, rhythm, and colorful dresses and hats. The pastorine, now known as a hat, the rigid line cardboard hat, similar to that of the Mexican charro, with stiff wings whose edges hang small pearl meshes. A toquilla, wide ribbon, borders the hat with the name of the gang or brotherhood of the blacks. A multicolored plumage or plume 1 meter high is rolled vertically from the hat, fitted with the long black collar pin. Formerly the straw hat was worn. Haiti Carnival. Feathers are one of the symbols of American Indian culture, not African culture. The Guyacarus are greatly to be dreaded, who continually scour the fields and have federal times attempted to surprise the towns of Santasi. They never give in any quarter, and those who fall into their hands have their heads swiftly cut off. They tear off the skin and hair and wear these as so many trophies. They go entirely naked and paint their whole bodies except their face with different colors. They adorn their heads with a cap of feathers. Their arms are bows and arrows, a spear and a dart, which is 4 or 5 shells long and sharp at both ends, travels through Asia, Africa, and America, containing a curious account of the manners, customs, usages, different languages, government, ceremonies, religion, history, commerce, arts, and sciences, etc., of those nations, by Edward Howard, Esquire, 1755. Jamaica Carnival. The culture never lies. Feathers are American Indian culture. He also took a sword and drew it out the sheath, showing it to them, and saying the same, which when they had heard, they all took to flight. While the Indian from the ship still trembled with cowardice, though he was a tall, strong man, the admiral did not want to leave the river, but pulled towards the place where the natives had assembled in great numbers. all painted and as naked as when their mothers bore them. Some had tufts of feathers on their heads, and all had bundles of darts. The Travels of Pedro de Ciza de Leon, 1532 to 50. Colonial records and ship documents confirm that some of the survivors of the May 26, 1673 European massacre of the Pequots in the southeastern Connecticut were sold into Bermudan slavery along with the various factions from other New England tribes. Wampanoag warriors from the 1676 King Philip's War were also sold as slaves. Altogether, several hundred Native Americans were sold into Bermuda slavery. These Indian slaves and their descendants remained isolated on St. David's Island, an islet at northern end of Bermuda. That relative isolation lasted until the 1930s, when a bridge was constructed connecting St. David's Island with the rest of Bermuda. Although there was intermarriage and cohabitation with African slaves, European colonists, and imported Carib Indians, these descendants of New England tribes passed on origin stories that connect 5 St. David's families, stories about an Indian slave woman named Susanna, who claimed to be the granddaughter of King Philip, and traditions of chanting and drumming at a hillside location called Dark Bottom. After the 1834 emancipation, most former slaves stayed on St. David's and continued to intermarry with each other. Peru Carnival, divided by water, connected by culture. The dresses of the Incans consisted of the shirts of this cloth, some embroidered with gold and silver work, some with emeralds and other precious stones, some with feathers of birds, and some merely with the cloth. To make these cloths, they had such perfect colors, crimson, blue, yellow, and black. That is in the respect that they have the advantage of Spain. The Travels of Pedro de Ciza de Leon, 1532, contained in the first part of his Chronicle of Peru. I verily believe that the people in these Indies have been there for many ages, as is shown by the ancient buildings and the extensive regions they have peopled. And although they are all brown and beardless and are so much alike, they have such multitude of languages that there is almost a new language at every league in all parts of the country, as so many ages have passed away since these. Cuba Carnival. Discover your copper roots connected by culture. Clothes reflected social status among Mesoamericans. Costumes of renowned warriors, priests, and chiefs bristled with symbols of their offices. They were decorated with copper, gold, silver, jade, turquoise, emeralds, and opals. Elaborate headdresses of the colored feathers of wild tropical birds and body painting in a dozen hues added to the glamour of these important personages. Indians of North America by Driver, Harold Edson, 1907. Notice of the Caribs in Central America communicated by Colonel Don Juan Galindo, dated by Government House, Trujillo, 1833. Though found in the Caribbean Isles by the Europeans on their first arrival in America, the Carib race is identical in outward appearance with the African Negro. Conquered and dispersed, the only remnant of the Caribs occupied a portion of the island of St. Vincent, whence their whole population was brought by the British authorities in 1796, and landed at Port Royal in Roatan, but a few months afterwards transported by the Spaniards to Trujillo.